The soldier dialed the public telephone located at the Korean demilitarized zone. Any North Korean defector who managed to call that number would be accepted unconditionally by the South. This North Korean soldier had just begun his escape. He stepped into a ditch, thinking he could quickly outrun his pursuers. But in the next moment, he realized his body was sinking. He had wandered into a swamp. The chase was closing in. He had no choice but to keep moving forward. Soon, the mud swallowed him almost entirely. Luckily, he managed to grab onto a piece of straw near the shore, pulling himself out. But the danger was far from over. Reaching the military security zone, he could already see South Korean soldiers patrolling in the distance. Just when he thought he was safe, he stepped on something, a landmine. Desperate, he prepared to call for help. But before he could, a gun pressed against his head. His pursuer, a North Korean officer, had caught up to him. The soldier demanded the officer hand over his gun, warning that if the mine exploded, they would both die. But the officer wasn't afraid. He told the soldier that South Korea wasn't the land of freedom he imagined. The soldier refused to give up. Even if he failed, he wanted to try. To prove his resolve, he lifted his foot, ready to detonate the mine and take them both down. But nothing happened. It was a dud. The fight continued. The officer launched a brutal attack, beating the soldier mercilessly. Seizing an opening, the soldier struck back, knocking the officer to the ground. Without wasting another second, he ran straight to the public telephone. He dialed the number. The call connected. Help was coming. Just then, a gunshot rang out. The officer had recovered and was aiming right at him. The soldier sprinted toward the South Korean entry point, but the officer fired again, hitting him in the leg. He tumbled down a slope but, despite the pain, kept crawling forward. The border was just ahead. The officer fired another shot, this time hitting the soldier's shoulder. Severely wounded, the soldier collapsed, but he refused to stop. He dragged himself inch by inch toward the demarcation line. The officer aimed his gun for a final shot but hesitated. They had once been good friends. Watching the soldier struggle so desperately for freedom, the officer couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger. At that moment, headlights flashed in the distance. South Korean soldiers had arrived. The soldier reached out, his hand touching the border. The officer lowered his gun. He let him go. The soldier was rescued and officially defected to South Korea.